going to study for the next couple of days. This is called the Atlas of Sedimentary Rocks under the microscope, and it is from the same guy Mackenzie and Adams and Guilford. It's a very interesting book. It was published by ALBS Society in 1984. This book actually tells us about the history of petrography, and the author has mentioned the name of a very famous scientist. His name was Henry Clifton Sorby, and he was the first person in the recorded history who studied the sedimentary rocks under the microscope. It was like in 1851, and then he presented his results in one of his remarkable papers on the structure and origin of limestone that he published in 1879, and he presented that paper as well. The main interest when the petrographic microscope was invented was in the igneous rocks. However, later on, when more and more resources were explored, especially oil and gas, then most of the companies they were interested to see how the sediment, because most of the oil and gas were discovered in sedimentary rocks, and the oil companies, the oil and gas companies, they were interested to see the pore, pore spaces and porosity in the rocks, and then it became the normal practice to study sedimentary rocks in the under the microscope. Sedimentary rock study is there are some parameters. We will see them one by one. However, if we discuss the parts of this book is actually divided into three parts. The first part deals with the petrographic observations of terragenous clastic rocks, mostly sandstones, and those rocks that are dominated by sand-sized particles. The next part is deals with carbonate rocks, and it is the longest section in the book, and it actually describes all the possible types of carbonate grains, because the carbonate grains are very heterogeneous, and there are a variety of types that are possible. Then the part three deals with ironstones, cherts, evaporites, phosphorites, and carbonaceous rocks in the thin section. Overall, this book will guide you to understand the different rock types and different, especially the sedimentary rock types. It is always useful to study the preface of a book. Oh, here we have the clastic sedimentary rocks. As you guys know, clastic sedimentary rocks are those that are transported, like they were deposited here and then they was transported and deposited at a new location, or erosion of the already existing igneous metamorphic rock can also result in the formation of sediments that are carried in the form of a stream or a glacial or a wind or maybe a coastal marine environment, and then they are settled. Here is a beautiful example of the scale that we normally use for characterizing the sedimentary grain size. And here you can see different categories. Maybe you guys have seen this scale before. We have clay, very fine silt, all the silt categories, then the fine sand, very coarse sand, and then up to 2 millimeter is the upper limit of sand. Then comes the granules, pebbles, cobbles, and boulders. And then there are some rock types associated, clay dominated rock type will be claystone, sill dominated will be siltstone, and then comes the other synonyms for these rock types: argillite, some people call it mud rock, shale, mudstone, argillaceous rock. Similarly, you might have listened about the terms of arenaceous rocks, arenite, sandstone, and then comes the rudiceous rocks, conglomerates, breccia. You can clearly see a clear distinction between the different sizes terms that we can use, and they are very important when it comes to the petrographic observations for sedimentary rocks. However, these rocks like very fine grain, as you know, there is a lower limit of studying these rocks under the thin section, and maximum magnification cannot even give you the very fine silt or claystone. So we solve this problem. We use XRD, X-ray diffraction, or we go to the scanning electron microscope, as we studied in the initial classes with the types of microscopes. Then we study these rock types under these conditions. There is also important parameters like the shape and roundness of these components, because the shape and roundness reflects कि आपका जो sediments था, they were how far they were located from the side, they were located, and now at what side they are. So it will tell you the distance a sedimentary rock has traveled. So here we have two categories. We call it as the sphericity and roundness. Sphericity means how much the grain is near to a sphere. If it is very near, then we call it high sphericity. If it is low, then we call it as low sphericity. Here we have different categories of angularity, and as you see, we have very angular, angular, subangular, subrounded, rounded, and well-rounded. And you can see a clear distinction between the very angular to well-rounded, and similarly with the high sphericity, very angular to well-rounded. And it shows you that more transportation means that the edges and corners of these sediments will be removed, and it will become more rounded, and the edges, as maybe you have seen some of these stones in the stream, are rounded off and they become more rounded. So these are some categories. You guys can go through them. Let's see a few of the examples from the quartz. Quartz, as you know, is very dominant mineral in most of the sandstones, and quartz is found in different types. It can be monocrystalline, and it can be polycrystalline. Polycrystalline means that the quartz grain is made up of more than two crystals. We will see shortly an example of that. And how we identify that there are different crystals, extinction will help you, and will let you know if there is when to rotate the stage. If the whole grain goes into extinction, it means the crystal is monocrystalline. But if the crystal part of it goes into extinction and part of it don't, then it means it is made up of more than one crystals. And there can be presence of inclusions. And then another example is the for polycrystalline grains, the cases where we have more than one crystal, we need to say whether the boundaries between the crystals is straight or it is sutured. That will provide you information about the provenance or about the source of these rocks. Why we are going to study the petrography of sandstones or limestones? Because they will ultimately guide you to understand the depositional environment and understand the place where these rocks were found. Okay. Here we have two examples of quartz grains. You can see that these grains are rounded but not that rounded, and we can call it as sub-rounded. And the the cement, actually in sedimentary rocks, the grains are cemented together with some sort of cement. There can be iron oxide, there can be calcite, there can be quartz cement. Here, mostly in this example, we have uh, iron oxide cement, and most of this cement is at extinction. You cannot actually see that cement because of its darker color. And you can see that this is the PPL view, plane polarized view, and this is the cross polarized view. You can see some of these quartz grains are going to extinction once we have the cross polarized view, and similarly this grain having partial extinction, similarly this. These are some of the examples of, you can see beautiful sand grains are scattered here and there, and most of these grains are sub-rounded in shape. Let's continue the quartz, and in this example, again, this is a PPL view and this is a cross polarized view. And you can say that in this particular crystal, that seems to be one crystal in the PPL view. However, in cross polarized view, you see it seems to be made up of more than one crystal. And this type of quartz is called the polycrystalline quartz. The quartz that we saw here, example, is the monocrystalline quartz, and it is normally from igneous rock. It is sourced from the igneous rocks. However, the polycrystalline quartz is normally sourced from the metamorphic rocks, and it shows that the metamorphic rocks at some particular location, they were being eroded and then they were transported to a new location. And you can see that in this particular quartz grain, some of the quartz particles, like these are at not extinction, but these particles are at extinction, and this area is going to be extinct. It means when you rotate the state, similarly see this grain also shows you some of the part of the grains. This composite grain is showing that some part of the grain are going to extinction, and some part of it are not extinct, and they are at the, and they are passing the light as it is. Here we have another example, and in this example you can see that some of these grains are stretched, and these grains, they show you some orientation, and they actually represents that they are from the metamorphic family. And you can see that this is a big chunk of a big class of rich in quartz. So what can be the rock type that it came from? Maybe there was a quartz mica schist at the location from where this rock came into being, and as a result of that, the rock as it is preserved. And you can see that in this particular grain, you can see multiple grains that are. So it is another example of polycrystalline quartz. Monocrystalline quartz is here, and this is all the polycrystalline quartz. So these are some of the examples. We continue our journey for today. I think we just going to introduce the quartz, and a little bit wrap up about the book. If you guys have any questions related to today's class, you guys can ask. Okay. If you guys are not having any questions, and you guys don't have any questions, then I think I leave you guys. So we see each other tomorrow, and I will send you the book. We my book. I will send you the book in the group, and you guys can just read what we have studied today in order to just understand what is sedimentary petrography. We already have a lot of igneous petrography, and now we are going to the other part of it, that is the sedimentary petrography or sedimentary petrology. It is very important in future if you study sedimentology or stratigraphy. This subject will help.